Welcome to the Success in Africa podcast with Dr. Modupe, your weekly dose of leadership vitamins to make you successful in Africa.
Hello and welcome to the Success in Africa podcast. My name is Dr. Modupe Taylor Pierce, and I am a scholar and practitioner of leadership and organizational development. Simply put, I study what makes people successful. I've been doing this for 3 decades now, with a particular focus on people in Africa. And in this episode, I'm going to share with you insights about people having success in Africa. Why am I doing this? Because I am absolutely intent on transforming Africa into a middle income continent by 2030 and high income by 2040. And for that to happen, I need you and every other African watching this podcast to be successful. So today, I'm very excited because we're going to have a live guest. This is somebody who has been a successful businessman in Africa, and his story is absolutely fascinating and powerful. And I'm so looking forward to hearing more about him and to you hearing more about him. His name is Mr. Olusegun Jaji, and most people just call him Jaji, and I want to welcome him to the studio. Jaji, you are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Now, you are known as the founder and the managing director of Sea Coach Express. So tell us a bit about what Sea Coach Express is. What is it? What service do you provide? And whom do you provide it to? And in how many countries do you provide it?
Well, thank you. Sea Coach Express is mainly a water taxi company providing water transportation. Our base is in Sierra Leone, and that is where we started. We actually pioneered, water taxi business in Sierra Leone. Right now, we're in about 3 countries, and we have aspirations of going into other countries in West Africa. We're in Sierra Leone, Nigeria, and in Guinea. And I believe in the next year or so, we should be in one more country, most likely the Gambia.
Absolutely fantastic. So now I know a little bit about your background. And if I recall, you used to own a nightclub or something in Philadelphia. How does somebody who was born in Nigeria and has been a nightclub owner end up being the founder and MD of a multinational transportation company in Sierra Leone and Guinea and Nigeria? Tell us a bit about that journey.
It's a very long story, but I'm just going to cut it short. I had most of my education in Nigeria, where I did my master's degree, first degree and second degree in finance. But somehow I got interested in going to the US, and I went to the US. And unfortunately, when I got there, I couldn't find the kind of job I was hoping to find, which was in finance, banking. So I had to settle for the one I could find, which was as a parking attendant. So I was parking cars and just grew up the ranks. I worked there for like 4.5 years, after which I'd learned enough. I became the general manager of the company, and I left to form the first Black-owned parking company in the city of Philadelphia. And I got lucky because one of the guys I hired, Anthony, a fantastic guy. He was an assistant to me, but he was doing just as well as I could. So he allowed me to look into doing other things, and I somehow got into real estate. Buying old houses and fixing them up, and selling them, and basically flipping it, which was the vogue then. So I got into construction, where I actually learned to do a lot of things. I'm a qualified carpenter, and I can do a little bit of plumbing, electrical, and quite a few other things. So it was one of those things that led me into, I found a warehouse, an abandoned warehouse that I bought and renovated into the nightclub and a conference center. And that's how owning the nightclub came about. So, I won the Minority Business Award in the city of Philadelphia in 2006 for investing about $5 million in the real estate market there. And, flipped quite a few houses, bought and sold a few cars, got into this and that, and even a loading dock. So that's how business has been for me. I came to Sierra Leone by chance. On the other hand, I don't know if you want me to go into that now or you want that to come
Yes,
later.
please.
Um,
Absolutely.
the vice president of Sierra Leone at the time was doing his campaign to be president, which was in 2006, and he came to City of Philadelphia. City of Philadelphia was not part of his itinerary on his visit, so it was a last-minute inclusion, and they couldn't find a hall big enough to host him and do the event. At the time, I was with some group trying to form the African and Caribbean Business Council. One of the guys in that group was a Sierra Leonean. And that's my first contact with the Sierra Leonean. And he was also into politics, so he was with the group trying to find a hall that they can use to host the vice president. And he told them, there's this Nigerian guy that has a hall, and it's a new hall. It's not open yet, but if you talk to him, you might agree. So they came and talked to me, and the vice president actually called, and I had to oblige. So we had the event there, and it turned out to be massive and really big. I always mistook Sierra Leoneans for Liberians, so that was the first time I was actually able to meet real Sierra Leoneans and make the distinction. And following that event, the vice president invited me to, come to Sierra Leone, so I guess he was impressed with the nightclub and the hall and the stories he heard. So I went to the city of Philadelphia and asked them if they could put a team together that could come and look into different businesses in Sierra Leone, because I didn't know what to come and do here really. Maybe to come open a nightclub or something. So we came the first time, and we were hosted by the Central Bank Governor, G.D. Rogers. He showed us around. I came with a team of about 6 other people with different business ideas. One was to come and do the waste to energy. Another one was to do the WiMAX. At the time, Wi-Fi wasn't a big thing. It was WiMAX. It was a Vietnamese based in Philadelphia that wanted to come and do the WiMAX. Another one wanted to come and do building material factories, like, making roofing sheets and nails and things like that. I came just to have fun and look around, and it was my first time back in Africa, and after being gone for like 13 years really, so it was something I was looking forward to. And another guy wanted to do telecommunications. We had a tidy little group, and we came and we had to use the helicopter to cross from Lungi to Aberdeen, and it was a very scary experience, and none of us wanted to try again. So on our way out, after we came, we had a good time. We hosted us well. We had met a lot of different groups, and promised to follow up on another visit. After the visit, we're leaving. We went by the ferry, to avoid the helicopter, and the ferry was one rowdy experience. We had stains because people with market wares and all that on the boat, and that wasn't the present for us. I'm like, well, maybe next time we'll use something else. So for a follow-up visit, when we came, I think 3 of us came. 3 of us came. The follow-up visit. We decided to use the hovercraft, because the helicopter was scary, the ferry was rowdy, so we decided to use the hovercraft. But as God will have it, the hovercraft got so many passengers, and we had to go with the second batch. So the first batch went through the hovercraft. It could take about 80 people or so. We went, so we were waiting on the beach there, waiting for it. It was 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and we asked, what's going on? Where's the hovercraft? They said, well, sorry, BMI in other flight is, they're going to bring the passengers going on BMI. 5 hours later, the hovercraft arrived. And we thought it was just going to take us, because we're about 20 of us. He said, sorry, the plane just landed. Let's get the other passengers to fill up the plane, to fill up the hovercraft before they go. In short, it took us about close to 6 hours waiting to cross. So it was that wait, sitting over there, and like, you know what, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And it was just one hovercraft that they had. And the idea of finding a way to use smaller vessels, like boats, to do it, came. So when we got to town, I started making inquiries to ask, why are there no other ways, no boats and things like that? And the main problem was that there were no jetties, no jetty facilities, no terminal facilities and all that. So I started writing the project to do something like that. That included, putting together a team, building a jetty, getting the terminal on both sides, getting vehicles to make it a one-stop shop. Get there, pay for your ticket, we take you across, get in the car, take you to the airport. Put together all of those things, and that was why Coach was formed to, provide this service. At the time, it was Pelican Water Taxi that was actually formed.
Now, I want to ask you about this one because I know it's actually one of the parts of your journey where you went through some low points. Because you started off as Pelican, and then somehow it ended up being Coach. What happened?
Well, coming to Africa, you meet young people and you believe you can work together. You can put resources together, put the heads together, and make the necessary sacrifice to get things created. Unfortunately, other people have different ideas of how they want things to be done. So I went to the US. When the idea was formed, I told them, we're gonna need this amount of money because boats are not cheap. Vehicles and jetty and all that, it cost some money. And I asked the people that I was talking to here how much money they could bring, on board to get the thing done. And they basically said, my brother, there's nothing, there's no money, but try as much as possible to do something. But when I went back to the US, if you remember, in 2008, there was a real problem for the real estate market in the US. There was a big market bust and things were not working well at all. Financial institutions were in trouble. And, normally it would have been easy for me to raise the money. But because, you could not refinance your houses easily, you could not, houses were not selling. 2008, if you remember, when Barack Obama came and, tried to solve the problem, it was a major, major issue. So when I went back to the US, tried to raise the money, I got to talking to one of my friends, who is also like a mentor. And I explained to him what I wanted to do. And of course, he was skeptical, like, why are you going to leave America and go back to Africa, to go set up something you're not even sure how it's going to work out and all that? I said, I've done the calculation. Believe me, it's going to work. He said, well, what do you know about boats? Well, how are you going to do the boats? How are you going to build the jetties and all that? I said, listen, if I can raise the money, I can find a way to get the boat thing going. Well, he said he's going to talk to his investment bankers and all that. So I said, okay. In the meantime, I had quite a few houses. At the time, I had quite a lot of houses. I started trying to sell. I had tenants. I go to the tenant. I'm like, listen, your rent is maybe $800. I can let your mortgage be $700. I'll pay your down payment just to buy this house and it becomes your own house and blah, 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 blah. So I got to selling the houses at a low price just to raise enough money. Sold quite a lot of houses at ridiculously low prices just to raise the money because I was just convinced not only that, it was going to make some money, but I was going to make a difference. And eventually, I got my friend and mentor to agree to give me a loan against some of my properties in the US then. And he called me. I remember what he told me. He said, listen, I told my investment banker, I told me, if you say you know this guy real well, this Jaji guy, and you're going to give him money to go to Africa, what if he doesn't come back? That's one. Two, they say the guy is Nigerian, and you know the stories about Nigerian. What if he takes your money and just goes? And the third thing is, he has not done this business before. I mean, you didn't give me some money to go to Czechoslovakia at the time, Like, what are you going to do? He said, listen, so I just wanted to tell you that I decided to still give you the money despite all this advice because I know you. I've done business with you. And, I was almost in tears, like somebody could actually trust you that much to take his money out of the continent. But yes, he did, invested some money. I was able to sell quite a few houses as well. So I combined the money plus what I could get to my credit card. So I started looking around. I ordered some boats from China, small boats from China. I also started going to boat shows, trying to meet someone that could come and build a jetty for me in Africa. After going to about 2 or 3 boat shows in Florida and eventually in New Jersey, I ran into one guy called Dan Kellerman. Dan Kellerman builds, bulkheads. They build retaining walls on the water, build jetties and things like that. So when I saw him in the jetty section, I told him, well, I'd like to build some jetties in Africa. If he'll come and build the jetties for me. I said, Africa, I've never been out of, whatever, and things like that. I'm like, listen, it's safe, it's fine. Build the jetty for me. We did the calculations and all that. They said, well, it's going to be about $25,000 for me to step out of here, because that would mean leaving some contracts here and all of that. I tried to talk to him about it. He said, I'm taking the risk going out there. What if something happens? What if this? What if that? And, I told him I could not afford it. He said, well, it's not hard to build jetties. I can teach you. Do you know how to? I said, yeah, I'm handy. You can teach me. So I said, okay. I should meet him in Barnegat, New Jersey. He has his work crew there. I can work with them, and he will take time and explain to me how it is done. I used to drive from my house to his place. It was a 2-hour drive there and a 2-hour drive back to go work with his crew. He had a Mexican crew working on a big pontoon and an excavator. So I used to drive down there and work with them all day. Sometimes I'm too tired to go home. I just stay on the side. I just sleep in the car. But after about 11 days or so of working with them, I understood the basic things, that the underlying points in building the jetty. Because I ask a lot of questions and he likes to explain to me, so we became even closer friends. And he helped me calculate all the things I would need. We ordered the wood from New Jersey, and I bought more than 10,000 screws. I bought all the equipment I would need. I bought galvanized pipes. I bought, name it. We calculated everything, and I bought times 2 of it just in case I run out of it over there. So we shipped it to, when it being shipped, I came to Africa, ahead to come secure the deals. Unfortunately, when I got to Sierra Leone back, all the places I had been promised, which was like, government facilities that were not really being used like that much, like the government wharf and the Kisi jetty in Tagreen. They said I couldn't, build a private jetty there. If I build a jetty, it's going to be a public jetty. That people can pay you to use it, but, it's going to be a public jetty. I said, no. If it's a public jetty, then anybody can just bring a boat and come and just jump and start the business. I did this so that I can be, be the forerunner in the thing. And I asked them, if they're gonna pay, how much will they pay? They said no. People have come here before and told us they build jetties, and they never did. So why am I going to be discussing price with you when you have not shown me you can actually do it? You're just talking. So that got me worried. I started looking for alternative places to build the jetty. I was staying in Bintumani first, and the longer I stayed, I moved to Cape Sierra. If you remember Cape Sierra, which was cheaper, and eventually found myself in Chinatown. As my money was going down, I was moving from hotel to the next cheaper one. Eventually, I got a house, which was they call it the Celtel house. I think somebody won the house in the Celtel raffle, which was a bit cheap. There was no light there, but at least I could, sleep there. I could have a little store to keep all my stuff that came. And so I was there for a while. Eventually, the materials came, and I started to do the construction. I don't want to go into that, explaining that, but it was a tough one. Because in the water there, in Aberdeen, where I was going to build the jetty, I had to clear the bush and make the road. Create a 2-way road there, clear the parking place. We just built a makeshift terminal, just putting pillars and putting a roof over it. And now the main thing was in building the jetty. The jetty was built in a little inlet at the mouth of a bay. So where I learned to build the jetty, the water only went up and down. But after building the thing now to stabilize it, I discovered the water also goes left and right. So I called Dan. I'm like, there's a problem here. This water is moving in 4 directions. It goes up, it goes down, and it goes left and right. And they tried to explain to me how I could use stringers to tie it down, set it, and all those kind of things. So I ended up sitting down by the jetty, because every time I tie it this way, it goes the other way. I tie it that way, it goes this way, trying to just figure out how to be. But we managed to get it stabilized a little bit. Then I had to go to Lungi to build the jetty. I had rented the Mahera Beach Hotel, and it was a last minute choice of location. So I didn't know how rough the water there could be. And the first night of sitting by the thing, just watching the water came all the way into the hotel. Oh man, I was in tears. I didn't know, because here there's no going back. We have to build a jetty in the water. I didn't
Yeah,
have
because
anybody. It
you've
was
you've
just
already
me.
taken people's money.
I've taken the money. I've ordered the boats. I've bought all the materials. So basically, I had to
Hey.
go in the water. Hired some fishermen there. It was just me. I had some fishermen there to help me. The guys that were here could neither swim nor be of any help in that aspect. So I had a couple of fishermen, and I would carry the 20-foot pole by myself and these other guys into the water, erecting it with pumps, and gradually we started building the jetty. And I remember the main guy that builds jetties around here, which was Class Diving, coming to me one day and saying, "Have you ever heard of Johnson Spring? In Johnson Spring, it's going to wash away all this wood you are putting here. So, we have to be very careful." So I told my guys, "Don't worry. We're going to take it even deeper. We're supposed to be 8 feet down. I'm going to go 10 feet down just to make sure, when this so-called Johnson Spring, water comes, it will be able to withstand it." So good thing they said that we built it really strong. And we built a jetty, I think it was about 150 feet into the sea. Mind you, there's no emergency rescue thing in sight. There's nothing, as far as help, except these fishermen and myself building this jetty. We built the jetty. When that was done, eventually the boats arrived, and we went through all the things to clear the boats. In fact, before the boats arrived, I had to go back to the US because I needed more money. My plan was not to build all this jetty in these places here, and now we have to build a terminal, we have to build the road, we have to build the jetty, we have to a lot more things. Even though I cut down on my expenses by moving to cheaper hotels, it was not enough to save. So I had to go back, and the guys here didn't have any money, so I had to go back to the US to go try to raise some money.
Mm.
I was able to sell, I think, about probably one more house, and John also gave me a loan, additional loan to come. So I brought back the money.
So by this time, you are truly and totally invested in this
I
thing.
was committed. My house was mortgaged. And
Hey.
my rented properties, I was not around to manage them. So, quite a lot of delinquent tenants and all kinds of issues I had to deal with. But, thank God I
How
had
many how many of your friends said to themselves or said to you, "Are you sure you are okay, Jaji? Has he gone crazy?"
I was if you think of it at the time, I had a nightclub, and the nightclub was pretty lucrative. So, it was able to give me enough money to meet up my mortgages and things like that. But I was seriously in debt other than that. But my mind was made up on this whole thing. I was fully invested in it. And the water in Aberdeen, in Lungi, goes down 11 feet at low tide, and it goes up 11 feet. That can drown a man any time of the day. But in that water, we were building the jetties, and it's mind over matter basically. Nothing was going to stop me at that time.
So let me fast forward you now. So you've built your jetty, which is clearly a competitive advantage. Now
Mhm,
you start your boats running,
mhm,
and it's going well
mhm,
as Pelican.
mhm.
And then it seems like you are hit
Everything
by an unexpected problem.
problem.
What
Yes.
happened?
Well, at the time, when we were building the jetties, my mind was focused on building the jetties. And these guys that I thought could be, good partners, were coming with their friends to the site, and they say, "Hey, Captain, how you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're building the jetties." Meanwhile, what they're telling the people is that I'm the engineer that they brought to Sierra Leone to come build the jetties, not really telling them I'm the main investor in the project. So when the project, when we were about to start, when we were starting, we had gone to a lawyer. They took me to a lawyer, and we had registered the company. And the normal thing to have happened was, since we were three of us that went, I was the main guy. I should hold all the shares in escrow, and they just give the other guys nominal shares, subscriber shares, one share, and I will have the remaining 98 shares. Yeah. Um, so that when we now raise the money and do all of that, we can distribute it accordingly. When I was raising the money in the US, my friend that gave me the loan told me 25% of the money will represent sweat equity. That means you and all of the guys that do all of the work according to how much contributions you did will get that 25%. 75% will represent capital equity, which is the money that we put in. Him and I put in all the money, so that means we share the 75%. The 25%, I did virtually all of the work, so I get 11%. The other guys would get 5%. And then we said we'll hold 3%, just in case we need to raise more money, so we can actually sell that to anybody. The remaining 2% were given to, I think, one of our other friends that was there. So when it was time to now distribute the shares before the company started, they said they are Sierra Leoneans, so they should get 10% of the shares. And I told them, where do we get the 10% of the shares? I told you guys 5% of the shares, and that is how it's going to be, and all that. And it became a big problem, a big tussle. Eventually, even when we agreed, they said they had to be getting, I think, $1,500 a month each as community liaison. And I told them, look, you're basing how much you're asking for on the projections I did. We're just about to start something new. We don't have no customers. We don't have no revenue. Even right now, I'm not even getting anything for myself, but I'm here doing this. It became a big headache, and they held the company to ransom. I could not distribute the shares because we only had one share instead of me having all the other shares, and so that was a big problem. And eventually, when the company started, I was he went ahead and filed a lawsuit, and they froze all my accounts. I couldn't get money. They froze all the accounts, so all the money I had to carry in my pocket. I paid from my pocket. I bought the fuel from my pocket. I paid the salaries of staff from my pocket. They froze the account. In fact, on many occasions, they had police come there to shut the place down. And you remember, when I started, there was one cotton tree in Aberdeen at the seafront there. The first day I came down there, there were probably about 20-something people just smoking weed, smoking jamba there. I walked past them. I said hello. I went to sit down. They were pretty peaceful. So when I was starting, these were the guys I talked to. If you guys want a job, I can train you. I can get you a job. So I hired quite a few of them. Believe it or not, I still have a lot of them working right now. They have never worked anywhere before. So they're the guys that I hired. So when they sent all these police to come and harass me and try to arrest me, these were the guys that pulled out knives and, like, no one is taking Jaji from here. We've been here all this while. None of you look at us here. Now this guy comes here, you have a job, and all that. You will say you want to arrest him. What did he do? And so we're able to, rebuff the guy. And I was pretty ready to fight, actually.
So here you were, as a Nigerian in Sierra Leone, you have been duped by some Sierra Leoneans, and yet also the boys in the area whom you helped by giving them work were also now your bodyguards. Amazing.
Yes.
So you are learning a lot of skills that may not have been in place in your nightclub days.
Quite a lot.
Tomorrow belongs to those people who prepare for it today. See you next week.